Good morning, everyone. This is Anne Marie. Today is Tuesday, October the 9th, and we're going to take our customary morning look at the SPY this morning. Yesterday, I said, hey, listen, let's watch for the gap fill to occur. And notice where the buyers stepped in. Do you see this top action right here? Folks, the one thing that I could share with you, what I try to do here each morning is not only give you an update as to what might happen during the course of the day, but it's a little bit of an insight into how can I trade better. All right? So you have to realize this. Charts don't stop arbitrarily at a particular price. There's usually a reason that we can see very easily. And if we can't see the reason, doesn't mean that it's not there, just means we can't see it. But price does not stop arbitrarily. There's always a reason. So if you take a look at what happened yesterday, and typically, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but certainly I tell folks all the time, on a day that the bond markets are closed, you are going to see this kind of action. Why? Because credit rules the world. All right? And we can't really do things that can continue or really have any kind of definitive directional momentum with the bond markets closed. You know, some may disagree with that. Of course, that's what makes a market. Everybody disagrees about something or the other, right? So in my experience over the years that I have been trading, this is the typical formation that occurs in the broad markets when the bond markets are closed, and they were closed yesterday. So note to self, hey, if you don't want to get annoyed by choppy action and you trade broad indices and ETFs like that mirror those sorts of things, take the day off, ride a bike, go watch some movies, get out, kayak, whatever it is that you want to do. Just keep yourself from being aggravated. That being said, those of us that are diehards and addicted to the market, such as myself, actually, we will sit in here and find our favored things to trade. So let's take a look at what we've got on the horizon today. This is a very, very interesting thing for you to observe right here. Do you see how this, remember, again, it's all about momentum. Those of us that trade during the day, we trade movement from one region to another, and that movement's measured by speed and acceleration. And that's certainly what it is that we are looking at here. See this drift to the upside with relatively flat action. Again, the faster level says yes. Indeed, we are getting into the positive territory here. What should we see? All right, well, first of all, we need to remember that we have a little bit of a gap that still exists. SPY does not like to leave these things open. So what we may end up doing is trying to reach back into this 146.15 area. That's the 61.8. My thought was yesterday, hey, listen, we're going to bounce into a lower high. Indeed, we did, but it's not a high enough lower high for us to continue the move downward back to fill the gap. So we have more grinding upside momentum in my mind before we turn around. Now, pre-markets today, the ES is looking like, hang on, sorry about that. The ES is down. It had been up late last night, 1450, 450. So what we want to do is watch that. Yeah, we definitely want to watch that line in the sand. 145.50 is what the SPY was reading in the pre-market earlier at the top, so it's still not gotten itself back up to the prior highs yet. my thought is that if this continues in this form or fashion and we breach these wicks, or we close a candlestick, an hourly candlestick above 145.70, we will be on our way to test this 146.15. If not, we're going to meander here a little bit more and then continue to fill this gap and get into the congestion levels down here before we actually resolve in whatever direction we're moving. My mind is still attached to the fact that we have upside momentum due to some much longer charts. Let's take a look at one of those. Let me see if I still have this fib sitting up here. I do. Have a look at this. This is a daily fib, and it's measuring away from down here. We can see that this move to the 138 gave us a rotation back just above the 100 right here. That makes all the sense in the world where this wick is, and now it's bouncing again. So while it resolves and takes care of business here, it is my thought that we are really on our way up to here. But we will know for sure once we clear this edge. Right now we're in a little bit of a pullback space, but notice we've got upside positive momentum still sitting clearly in our spaces. This one little negative drift is telling us that, hey, listen, let's just fill our gap. Let's fill our gap and then move on. All right? So I'd like to do, in closing, though it's not normally, well, let's change that, not normally what I look at in public here. We do normally look at it in other spaces, but I want to take a look at Apple. Now, a lot of folks were wise enough to see that there was a gap here yesterday that was filled. And so this caused some folks to say, hey, listen, we filled the gap. I believe that it is time for us to take a long. And so folks saw this gap getting filled during the course of the day, watched the bounce up, and then began to go long, but did not realize that we had a little trouble at the 644 to 645 region. Okay, and so they ended up getting stopped out, this, that, and the other. Here's what you'll want to look at, in my mind, for Apple today. I believe that Apple has got more downside momentum. Why? A lot of different reasons. But in any case, from a technical perspective, when you see, and now it's time for me to expand this very, very quickly, and not let the chart disappear underneath. When you see something like this happen, you come into a level and you get a wick like this, what that means is there were a lot of sellers camped out here waiting. Now, it surprised some people that they were there. They're like, oh, all right, well, we should rotate over. The reason that that surprised some folks is because this level here actually represented the tip of another wave from way back to the left that seemed inconsequential, but in actuality it was not. All right, so what do we want to see today? Well, I do believe that we've got a few patterns going on in Apple that are going to eventually pull it back into a space somewhere quite a bit below where it's sitting right now. And as soon as it's done with that, it's going to move forward. So a lot of folks thinking that Apple is going to bounce. Certainly, I was short until the end of the day. I was short via long puts, took most of those off, butterflied the rest. What does butterfly mean? I've got short puts on either side of the strike that I have the long put on. So that's what a butterfly is. What the butterfly does is if it spikes in the morning, because I do believe that the final space is downward, if it spikes in the morning, I want to be able to capture those gains through the short puts. And so I'll be taking the short puts off with any kind of morning spike into rotation, but it's not time to load the boat in Apple yet. I know we're all waiting for that beautiful bottom that we can jump in on. Not quite here. It's not here yet. All right? So That being said, just wanted to share with you what these levels look like. For those of you that are interested in Apple, Apple can be played very, very reasonably with weekly options. You want to be careful about weekly options. Actually, we'll be talking about those in Las Vegas. So please do what you can to get over there. The Money Show is a great place, Traders Expo, great place to be. Learn a lot of different things, meet a lot of traders, and just overall a terrific space. All right, so that being said, have a look at these levels. They go down into, where shall we, what do I want you to pay attention to? Somewhere into the region right around there. All right, maybe a little bit less actually. So that's what we'll be looking at. All right, have a great day trading. Please be careful. And listen, don't trade just because you see a trigger. Trade because the trigger makes sense. Trade because there's somewhere to go once you get through the trigger. Trade because there's room for you to make money. Don't just trade because you got a trigger. All right? Very, very poor way to trade. It's trading involves a lot of strategic thinking, and most of us just want to make money. We think it's easy. We've got to make money. Just tell me where to buy and sell. I don't really care about how it is that the market works. If that's your philosophy, truthfully, it's better that you either say, hey, listen, I believe that I need to adapt the way that I think, or simply turn your money over to somebody that loves the market, is good at what they're doing, and there are a lot of folks like that are like that out there that do manage money, right? Just let them do it. If you are going to work with your money, it's important that you've got to become a strategic thinker. Place yourself through these elements and walk through them as logically as you possibly can. All right? Good luck today.